All right, so it's 2:30, so we may as well get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Ajax Public Library's program, Saving and Investing 101, presented by the Ontario Securities Commission. My name is Julia Campbell, and I'm the Adult Services Librarian at the Ajax Library. Joining me from the library is Alex Buckenroth, Digital Program Assistant, who will also be assisting with today's program. I wanted to start by quickly covering a couple of housekeeping items. Today's presentation is being recorded, so I would ask that you please keep your webcam and microphones off so that you are not displayed or heard in the recording. The camera and microphone icons can be found at the bottom left of your screen. We will have a Q&A portion after the presentation, at which point I will stop the recording to protect everyone's privacy and so that everyone feels comfortable asking questions. And at that point, you can feel free to unmute yourself and turn your camera back on if you wish to do so. The chat button is along the bottom if you have any questions or comments you would like to share. You have the option of chatting with everyone, or you can send a private message to me, Alex, or Chris, our presenter. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation, and we will do our best to get to them either during the presentation or at the end during the Q&A. If you experience any technical difficulties, I recommend that you exit Zoom and then re-enter. If you continue to have difficulties, please place a comment in the chat, and I will do my best to assist you. I think that covers the basics, but if any other questions come up, please don't hesitate to use the chat function as we will be monitoring it throughout the program. So now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's program, Christine Allum. Chris is a Senior Advisor, Investor Engagement and Stakeholder Partnerships and Investor Office at the Ontario Securities Commission, where she partners with various groups and organizations to deliver investor education and fraud prevention workshops. Her financial expertise includes adult training, curriculum resource development, relationship management, and community outreach. We are lucky to have her with us today, so without further ado, I will turn it over to Chris to begin her presentation.
Thank you, Julia. And hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Thank you for joining to listen to me talk a little bit about saving and investing. I'm going to share a fair amount of information, but rest assured that everything I'm speaking about, you can find information on our website, and I'll make sure I share our web address with you throughout the presentation and our contact information. I'll also, at the end of this session, be sure to send Julia an email with links to the different resources and information, and she can also share that with you too. So without further ado, let's get started. So as Julia mentioned, I work for the Ontario Securities Commission. For those of you that are not familiar with the Ontario Securities Commission, we're a government agency, and we are responsible for regulating the capital markets in Ontario. A key part of our mandate is to provide protection to investors. And one of the best ways to provide protection is to ensure that people have access to good information. So I work for the Investor Office. That's a branch within the OSC. And within Investor Office, we have a policy team, we have an education team, we also have an outreach team and a research team. So my function is outreach. I normally would travel to province, share information, and deliver personal presentations. However, right now we're living in a world of COVID-19 and we're doing everything virtually. So basically my role is to share information with you, but I also take information back because it's a two-way street. When I share information with you and you ask me questions, you're also giving me feedback. And that information I can share perhaps with my colleagues in the policy team if it's something that they should know about. Maybe I need to share some information with people in our education team because you are looking for a particular type of resource, and we can certainly develop something to help there. So it's nice. So please feel free to ask questions, and I will try and answer those as best as I can. And if you can, it might just be easier to ask those questions at the end of the presentation, but if you can't wait, for sure, we will try and answer those during the session. So you're here today to learn about saving and investing. Really, what is it when we talk about saving? What is it to save? And that's to have monies left over when you take out all your expenses, right? So any leftovers monies that is remaining after you pay all your expenses, all your bills, that's what you can use for savings. You know what? Having savings is really important because with savings, you can cover unexpected expenses. And, during this particular time with COVID 19, I saw a research statistic that I think many Canadians, I think it was like 25%. I could be wrong though. Only 25% of Canadians could cover an unexpected um, expense of over $5,000. So it's good if you can save because then you can handle unexpected bills. You can also plan for short-term goals, long-term goals. Um, so having savings is a really good thing. Now, let me just move on here. Now, we also talk about investing. So how does saving differ from investing? When you save, you have monies that are left over and you can take that and put it aside. When you invest, you are using money to make money. And that usually involves risk because usually you're investing. Many of you may be familiar with stocks. So, if you purchase stocks, you're investing, you're buying shares within a company in the hopes that those shares increase in price, right? So that when you sell it, you are actually making a capital gain. So you're making more money. And that's why we sort of differentiate between saving and investing. Because when you invest, you use money to make money. And investing really is something that people do over the long term. So you might invest if you have young kids, you may want to put some money and invest it for their education. Many of us, we would invest for our retirement because that's, fair number of years away. Those are some of the reasons we would invest. Now, when you want to save, where would you save? Likely, like many of us, we open an account at a financial institution, whether that's a bank or a credit union, and we put that money in an account and we would earn interest on those cash deposits. Another way that we can save is by opening registered savings plans. And these are registered savings plans. These are plans that you can also open at a financial institution. But because they're registered and they're registered with the Canada Revenue Agency, there's a tax benefit component to these plans. And in these registered savings plans, you can save and also hold investments in these plans. Okay. So, what are these plans that are available to help you save and also invest? First one, registered education savings plan. Saving for education. This plan is to help you save for your children's post-secondary education. So once they graduate from high school, if they want to go on to college or university, there's a cost. Or they want to take an apprenticeship program, there's a cost. They want to take a trade, there's a cost, right? So recognizing that these programs are costly, Government of Canada has these RRSP plans to help parents save for their children's post-secondary education. Benefit of these plans is that you may be eligible for government grants. Your savings grows tax-free. When your child is ready to go to a post-secondary program, they withdraw the money. The student, the child, is the one who will pay taxes on that money. And because it's a student, your child who is likely not working, So they are taxed at a much lower tax bracket. There's that tax saving component. Now, just be aware that there are different types of savings plans, as in RESP savings plans. There are the ones that you can open at a financial institution, an individual plan, or a family plan. You open these plans, you decide how much money to put in, when to put in money, whether or not you want to put in money, and also put in investments. You make all those decisions. But some people also think, well, maybe I want to join a group plan where my money is pooled with other families' monies and someone manages that money and invests it for us. So if you were interested in a group plan, you would join a scholarship plan dealer. And then they have set rules and schedules where they tell you, you know, you need to contribute X amount of dollars at this time. So you have to understand that they have rules. You have to follow their rules. They make the investment decisions for you, and they usually have um, more higher fees. With the group plan, because you are joining this plan where the scholarship plan dealer has certain rules, and you have to abide by those rules. Um, People sometimes forget to ask certain questions like, what happens if I join a group plan and I decide that I want to stop or not be in the plan after 2 years? What happens if I'm in this plan and for some reason I miss making 2 monthly payments? What happens? You want to understand if there are any penalties when you join these group plans, because you know what? This is a plan, they're managing it for you, they have rules. It's very different from if you have an individual or family plan and you manage and you make those decisions yourself where you decide, you know what, I want to put in cash and I'll decide how much I want to put in and when I want to put it in. Okay, so just be aware that there are differences. So there's another type of account, another plan. This is an account, but it's again, it's a savings plan to help you save. And this is another one where you can save and you can also invest. And that's a tax-free savings account. This is an account that you can use to save for any reason. The RESP, you were saving for your children's education. The tax-free savings account, the TFSA, you are saving for any reason. You set the goal. Who can open this? Anyone that is over 18. You can put in cash, you can put in investments. Now, just be aware that if you open a TFSA, there are annual maximum contributions, meaning there's a limit as to how much you can put in every year. If you opened a TFSA this year, that amount, that maximum amount that you can put in this year is $6,000. You put in this money, it grows. You put in investments, as long as it's not over 6,000, it grows. Any earnings, any interest earned, you don't pay taxes on it when you take the money out. So it's tax-free savings. Just be aware, if you put money in, you put in 6,000, the maximum, you over contribute, you will be taxed on the amount that you have over contributed. And I say to people, you're using a tax-free savings account, so you want to minimize the taxes you pay. So you don't want to put in more money than you're allowed because then you're going to be taxed. So you sort of defeat the purpose of putting in money in a tax-free savings account. The other thing is you are allowed a maximum annual contribution. What if you didn't contribute the maximum? That's okay. You don't lose the contribution room that is unused. If this year you only allowed to put in 6,000, but you could only put in 2,000, that unused contribution room of 4,000 is carried forward. So that goes with you next year. So next year, when they set that maximum, there's that new maximum plus your 4,000. So you will be able to put in more money. Okay. Also understand that this is your money. You put in money. Let's say you put in the full $6,000 and you think to yourself, I shouldn't have done that. I needed to leave some money out because I need $500. So you go out and you take that money out. And then you didn't use it. And you say, well, I need to put it back in. And that's okay. You take the money out, you can certainly put the money back in. The recommendation is when you withdraw from your TFSA account, you put the money back in the following year. Okay? Why is that? If you put in 6,000, you have put in the maximum. When you put back in that 500 you've removed, it looks like you've over contributed. You've put in $6,500. Now, next year, you go to put in money. They will look and see what monies you took out this year and say, oh, took out $500. She gets an additional 500 that she could put back in. Okay, so understand the rules with these types of accounts because these accounts are to help you save. There's that tax saving component in it. So you want to take advantage of that and you don't want to lose anything due to penalties and not understanding the rules. Another type of account that is available to help us save, and it's the Registered Retirement Savings Plan, an RRSP. Now, it's for your retirement. So how does an RRSP work? Who can open one first? Anyone who has worked, earned income, and filed a tax return can open an RRSP. Why is that? Because the amount of money you are allowed to contribute to an RRSP is based on your income. It's based on your earnings. That's why you have to have worked and filed a tax return. When you file a tax return, Canada Revenue Agency reviews your taxes and they, I just noticed that there's something in the chat box. I will get to that question in a minute. So when you file a tax return, Canada Revenue Agency sends you a notice of assessment. And on that notice of assessment, it will tell you your RRSP contribution room. And that's the maximum amount you can put in to your RRSP, okay? Similarly, just like the TFSA, you put in money in the RRSP. If you didn't put in the maximum you were allowed, that amount that you didn't use, that unused contribution room, gets carried forward to the next year. So you never lose it. The other thing is, when you put in money in an RRSP, you also are able to claim a tax deduction, right? So your contributions are tax deductible. If I'm allowed to put in $5,000 in an RRSP, when I put in that $5,000, when I do my taxes, I can claim that I put in $5,000 and I get a tax deduction, okay? So I get some kind of a credit for putting in money in my RRSP. Now, you can put in money, you can put in investments, and these grow tax-free until you're ready to take it out. When you withdraw monies, that's when you're taxed. And because by that time you're likely not working, you're retired, again, you're going to be taxed at a lower tax bracket, okay? So those are some of the benefits of participating in an RRSP. Now, somebody asked a question about, On my slides, I've included copies of calculators. These are calculators that we have that are available on our website, getsmarteraboutmoney.ca. And I can certainly show you, and I'll repeat the website later on, okay? So we have various calculators to help you save, to use these tools, and to use these plans that we have available. Now, oh, it's time for a video. I've been talking so much, I didn't even notice. So I talked about tax-free savings account, and I talked about RRSP. So I want to play this video because it explains a little bit more about how these two plans work and how they are similar and also how they are a little bit different. So let's do that.
Tax-free savings account, or TFSA, is a type of savings account that is registered with the federal government. You can save and invest toward any type of goal and watch those savings grow tax-free throughout your lifetime. Residents with a Canadian Social Insurance number start accumulating TFSA contribution room when they turn 18, whether or not they open an account at that time. You can open a TFSA at many financial institutions like banks, credit unions, investment firms, or online investing platforms. You can also open more than one TFSA. For example, you might have one for short-term goals like buying a home and another for long-term goals like retirement. Just be aware that your TFSA contribution limit is the total for all of your accounts combined. We'll talk more about contribution limits and rules in part 2. But first, let's talk about some of the big differences between a TFSA and an RRSP. Unlike an RRSP, you don't need earned income to contribute to a TFSA, and there is no maximum age for making contributions. However, contributions to a TFSA are not tax deductible, so you won't get a tax refund when you put money in. Instead, your withdrawals are tax-free. Additionally, any money that you make on investments inside of your TFSA, including interest, dividends, and capital gains, remain tax-free. You heard that right. Don't let the name tax-free savings account confuse you. Just like an RRSP, a TFSA is like a bucket that can hold a variety of investment products like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, and guaranteed investment certificates. Once you put money in a TFSA, you can buy and sell investments or change the kinds of investments you own. And because the holdings in your TFSA and the returns you make on those investments will not be considered taxable income when you withdraw them, you can take full advantage of the magic of compounding. Compounding is when the money you earn on your investments gets reinvested to make even more money. Let's say you invest $1,000 in your TFSA and earn a 5% return. In the first year, you earn $50 in your investment for a total of $1,050. But in the second year, you earn $52.50, since the $50 you made in the first year is now making money too, with your investment now totaling $1,102.50. In the third year, you'd make over $55. This cycle allows your TFSA investments to grow exponentially over time. Fast forward 30 years, and your initial $1,000 investment is worth $4,322, with $3,322 in tax-free growth. Exactly how much money you make in your TFSA depends on the overall performance of your investments, minus any associated fees. Learn more at getsmarteraboutmoney.ca. Brought to you by the Ontario Securities Commission Investor Office.
So, oops, let me just adjust the speaker. So you've just seen a little bit, quick hit on what is a TFSA, how you can use that account. We showed you a little bit about investing, a little bit about compounding, and that would apply similarly to putting your money in an RRSP. Same would apply to putting monies in an RESP, okay? Now, the other thing is there's also another plan to help you save, and that's a registered disability savings plan, RDSP. If you qualify for disability benefits, you can open an RDSP. Similar to RSP, RESP, and TFSA, you can put in cash, you can put in investments. There's a lifetime contribution amount of up to $200,000. Again, your savings grows tax-free and you withdraw the money. And when you withdraw the money, that's when you're taxed on it. Okay. So these are just some of the plans that are available to help you save, because some people use it for saving. Some people use it for saving and investing because they also put in investments in there. So the choice is yours. These are some of the places you can put in money. Now, how would you start? How do you get started? You want to save? You're thinking you want to invest maybe? You're not quite sure. You have to have a plan. When you have a plan, you can prioritize your goals. So what do you want to save for? What do you want to invest for, right? Prioritize it. I want to retire in 20 years. I also need a car in 5 years, or I want to put a down payment on a home in 3 years. So you prioritize your goals. And then you say, okay, I've got to figure out, how much money I'm going to allocate for each of these goals. Okay. Then you need to figure out, organize your finances, So it's really good to have a plan, because with a plan, you can set targets, you can put dates, and you can see yourself reaching it. Okay. Now let's just move on. So let's say you're thinking, okay, I've got a plan, I've got my goals. I want to think about starting to invest. When you're investing, just like you're saving, you want to look for something that pays higher interest. You want to make more money, right? So what gives you higher interest? There are different types of investment products out there. Different investment products carry different types of risk. So understand what you're buying. Now, there's a product called a guaranteed investment certificate. So that pays higher interest than if you were to put your money in a savings account. Why does it pay higher interest? Because the way that product works, the way that GIC works, is that you are loaning your money likely to the bank, that credit union that you're buying that GIC from. You're loaning them your money for a period of time. Because you're loaning them your money for a period of time, you can't touch that money. So that money is tied up. And that's why they'll pay you higher interest. Okay. So when you see opportunities to earn higher interest, you want to understand how these products work. Because then you can't say, oh, I'm going to buy a GIC. I'm going to buy it for $5,000. It's a 1-year GIC. And then 2 months later, you go, oh, you know what? I need that money. I want to take that back. Okay. You've just agreed to buy that GIC for 1 year. And now you want to take it back. Okay. So you need to understand how these products work. Also, different products have different fee structures. So with the GIC, you earn interest. Maybe you want to buy a stock. Okay. So when you buy a stock, there are different types of fees because the stock has a certain price. But in order to buy that stock, you also have to pay commission because you have to trade for it, right? You have to buy it, you have to pay commission. When you want to sell it, you also have to pay a commission to sell it. So there are fees associated with these products. There's one in order to acquire it, you have to pay fees. In order to sell it, you have to pay fees. And then there's the price of the actual investment product itself. Something else people don't always think about. How liquid is that investment? When we talk about liquidity is, what if you need your money? How easily can you cash it to get your money back, right? And that's why, it's good to have goals and determine, what you're saving for, when you're going to need the money, because that will determine what type of product you buy, okay? So I bought a GIC. I'm sure I'm not going to need my money for that year that I bought my GIC. But maybe I think, you know what? I'm going to invest in some stocks. I may not need the money for 2 years. And that's okay. But I buy the stock. I may not need the money for 2 years. 6 months later, something came up. I go, oh, you know what? I need that money. I'm going to sell my stock and just take whatever I get for it because I then have access to that money. So different products work in different ways. You need to understand that. These are some of the things to think about when you're thinking about investing, okay? So where would you start? How would you start? And I talked about some of these products already. Oops. Now, let me just do this. You have short-term goals. What are short-term goals? Saving for the near future. I'm going to say it's a year. Sometimes you may save for a vacation in a year, or you're looking to purchase, a motorbike or something. You have a shorter term goal. Okay. Where would you put your monies? What kind of investments, what kind of products should you be looking at for this type of short term goal? Savings account. You put it in an account where that money is easily accessible. You can take it out at any point in time, right? Because it's the near future. You can put it in guaranteed investment certificates, and different GICs have different time periods that you can invest for. Some have 90 days, some have a year, 6 months, 2 years. You determine. Short-term goal, not going to need it for 6 months, then maybe you put it in a 6-month GIC. Or maybe, you know what? I'm not likely not going to need it for 2 years. So you may want to put it in a 2-year GIC. Similarly, there's a money market fund where you can put that money in a fund, and it's easily, you can buy and sell at any time. Same thing with T-bills. And then you can also invest in government or corporate bonds. Now you have longer term goals. And this is one where, you know what? You're not going to need the money for several years. So what are some of the things you can look at? Those registered plans, okay? Because you can put in cash, you can put in investments, you can also open an investment account, right? Where you go to an investment firm, you go to a financial institution, and you can open an investment account. You don't need to have a registered plan to put in investments. For these long-term goals, you can also use GICs. There are people who will buy 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year GICs. Okay, so this product is still available for you to use. Then there are mutual funds, very popular investment product with Canadians. And that's one where you buy a basket of stock. So instead of buying one stock, you buy a basket of stock so that you get, maybe I'm going to make this up, okay, because there are different types of mutual funds. So maybe you get 20 different types of stocks in there. And the reason people buy mutual funds is because it allows them to invest in a variety of stocks. It also helps minimize risk. Because think about this. You invest in one stock. If that stock were to go up in price, wonderful, you make money. If that stock were to go down in price, you lose money. But what if you invest in a basket of stocks, so different types of stocks? Some of those stocks will go up, some could go down. So the ones that go up, great. The ones that go down, not so good. But you know what? In between there, you're sort of minimizing your risk by diversifying, by having different baskets of stocks in there. Okay. And that's why people look at things like mutual funds and exchange traded funds. They work very similar. They also have different fees. And then you know about stocks. You can buy individual shares, individual stocks, and then you can buy bonds. Okay. So these are some of the products that you can look at, that you can learn about if you're looking to invest, certainly for the longer term. Now, some people will say, oh my goodness, it's a lot, right? Because you have to have a plan. You have to understand the different types of products that are out there. You have to understand how they work. You're not quite sure, you're not quite comfortable that you're ready to take all that on. So they want to get advice. There are different types of advisors out there who can provide you with advice. There are these customer service representatives. They work at financial institutions like your credit union, like your bank. You can have your banker help you. Somebody once said to me, "Oh, my personal banker does all my investing," and I think that's great, right? You can work with a mutual fund representative. You can work with an investment representative, and people call them their stockbrokers, right? You can have an advisor, financial planner, insurance advisor, and some people go online where they use robo advisors. There are different ways, different organizations that provide different types of services. So if this is something you want to do, you want to work with one of these advisors, understand what type of service you want, and then you can go look for that type of advisor. When you are working with an advisor, let's say you've decided on the type of advisor you want, and you say, okay, this is the type I want to, I'm going to sit down and work with them. What would that advisor do for you? Well, the first thing they're going to do is meet with you, whether they meet with you virtually, they meet with you in person, because they need to understand and know you. What are your goals? What is your financial situation? What is your time horizon? And like your time horizon for your goals. What is your risk tolerance? When we talk about risk tolerance, there are different types of risk. When we talk about risk tolerance, there's what's your financial ability to handle higher risk products? Because remember I said there are different types of products out there. Some are higher risk, some are lower risk. So what's your financial ability to take on higher risk products? When you take on higher risk products, there's a likelihood you could make higher returns, but also the likelihood you could lose everything. So what's your financial ability to take on higher risk products? Also, internally, how do you process risk? Are you the type that would be able to sleep at night if you were to invest in something that's highly volatile? And what do I mean by that? Let's say you bought a stock and it's a volatile stock, meaning it's one where the price goes up and down like a yo-yo. You bought that stock at $10 and if it were to drop down at $6, would you be able to sleep at night? You know, you bought it at 10, it dropped to 6, then it went up to 8, and then it dropped to 4. Can you handle that type of risk internally? So you need to understand your risk tolerance, and your advisor also needs to understand your risk tolerance. So they must get to know you. And once they know you, they will make suitable investment recommendations for you because they understand your goals. They can then make product recommendations. What kind of products can help you meet your goals? They'll be able to explain how those product works. What are the different features? What are the costs, right? Because remember I said, not only might the product have a particular cost, but there may be fees associated with owning that particular product. So you want to know the cost and you want to know about the fees. And then you want to know how risky that product is also. The other thing is, this advisor must also tell you how they're paid. And you know, we're Canadians. We are very polite. We don't like to talk about money. It's a very private matter. And sometimes people have an advisor and they never ask about the fees for service. If you're working with someone, they should tell you how they're paid because advisors can be paid in different ways. Advisors can receive a salary. Maybe they receive a commission. So every time they sell you a product, they get a commission. Maybe they get a fee, a percentage, or maybe they get a combination of those ways. So this person's working for you. It's in your best interest to find out how it is that this person is being paid. Now, when you're working with someone who's going to help you manage your finances, you need to understand what it is that that person can do for you. So, what we always say is before you work with someone who's going to help you invest, always do a background check. You want to check registration of that individual. Remember, the OSC, we regulate the investment industry. So anyone working in the industry that is providing you with investment advice, selling investments, providing you with investment recommendations, they must be registered with the Securities Commission in their province or territory. And in Ontario, that's the Ontario Securities Commission. So you're going to someone for investment advice, they must be registered. When you check registration, what you're going to check is what are they registered to do? What is their registration category? What services and products are they registered to provide you? Because that will tell you that that individual has the knowledge and the qualifications to provide you with those services and products. The other thing is we're a regulator. So if we had someone working in the industry that didn't comply, didn't follow our rules, and we took disciplinary action, that information also goes in their file. So when you check registration, not only are you checking what services and products this person is registered to provide, you're also going to find out if ever there was any disciplinary history in their background. So how would you check registration? You can go online. You can visit checkbeforeyouinvest.ca, takes you to a national database. So anyone that's registered with any Securities Commission across Canada, their name would be in that database. You can go in, pop in their name, and up comes their names, and you can then check their registration. Or you can call the OSC. We would be happy to check registration for you. We have a toll-free number. That number is 1-877-785-1555. When you call that number, you're calling our contact center. We have a team of people that would be more than happy to answer any questions for you, and they would obviously be happy to help you check registration. Okay, so these are just some of the things to think about when you're thinking about investing, you're thinking about working with a financial representative. Now, where else can you get more information? And that's where I talk about our website. Someone earlier asked about the various resources that we had available, and that includes the different calculators that I was showing up on our slide. And that's on getsmarteraboutmoney.ca. That's what we call our consumer site. So what are some of those tools that are available on our consumer site? I talk about the fact that you need to set goals. So we have a worksheet that helps you set goals, a financial goals worksheet. Or maybe you're thinking, I want to put my money in a savings account. Let me see how it would grow. Let me use their compound interest calculator. So you can go on there and look at the compound interest calculator. We also have, and you would have seen that, the TFSA calculator. We have a retirement RRSP worksheet, for people who are thinking about retiring. So we have lots of different types of tools to help you figure out what it is that you need to do and how you can start saving and investing. I talked about the different types of advisors. We have a whole section on getting advice. Sometimes people say to me, okay, so I'm looking for an advisor. What do I do? When I find an advisor, what questions should I be asking this person? You know what? You can go on our website. When you're looking for an advisor, you're going to ask family and friends, are they working with anyone that they would be happy to recommend? So they make recommendations, or maybe you did some calling around and you arranged to meet with 2 or 3 individuals to get a sense of what they're like. But what kind of questions would you ask them? We have a page on our website that says, what are some of those questions you would be thinking about when you're looking for that advisor, when you're going to interview that person who is going to help you manage your money? Questions like, what are your qualifications? Who are your clients? What fees do you charge? These are some of the questions you should be thinking about if you're thinking about going to work with an advisor. Another section on the website, we have a whole section that explains various types of investment products around. I just want to highlight that we have a section under investment products called crypto assets. You may have been reading in the news and seeing a lot of news reports about Bitcoins. And if you're not aware, Bitcoin is a digital currency. It is also a type of crypto asset. So a lot of people right now are interested in crypto assets. You can go on our website and learn all about these crypto assets, how they work, and then be more informed so that you understand what it is you're investing in if this is something that is of interest to you. Another thing that's not on here, and I'm just telling you because just I can only show so much on a page. We have a whole section on cannabis industry because many Canadians are also interested in investing in cannabis companies. Again, understand how they work. So you can go online, look up our website, getsmarteraboutmoney.ca, and you can get information on investing in cannabis companies. Now, another resource for you, and this is called investingquestions.ca. It's all available on getsmarteraboutmoney.ca. It's investing questions, right? Sometimes people will write us and ask us a question, and we will respond. And depending on the question, we think to ourselves, well, somebody's asking that question. Likely, somebody else might be interested in that same question and the answer. So we have posted those questions we receive and the answers on this particular page on our website, Investing Questions. So it's just another resource for you, another place where you can get more information. We're a very multicultural society. So to help those new Canadians who are looking for information, we have a microsite, and that's available in 22 languages, and it's called investingintroduction.ca. So it's another place to help people get information. And then lastly, where else can you get information? We have an e-newsletter. It's called Investor News. So you can sign up for an e-newsletter and you can get information on new resources, timely topics that are happening, investor warnings. If we know somebody's doing harm in the industry, we will put out a warning. So you can get all that information on our e-newsletter. You can also follow us on Twitter at @smarter_money. We have a Facebook page at Get Smarter About Money, and certainly our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, Get Smarter About Money, is one where you saw that what is a TFSA video. We explain what is an RRSP. I think we also have one on what is a mutual fund. So a lot of different videos to help you understand the different products that are out there. We also have videos on the different types of, some of the different types of frauds that are going on right now. So different things to help you educate yourself. That said, where else can you go get information? GetSmarterAboutMoney.ca is where you can get information to help you manage your finances. That's our consumer site. OSC.ca is a corporate site. You're thinking to yourself, well, I'd like to learn a little bit more about the OSC, how they work, what is their function. We also have copies of our annual report, all that good stuff on our website, OSC.ca. So 2 different places where you can get different information. But GetSmarterAboutMoney.ca is where I would tell you is where you should be visiting to get information to help you learn about saving and investing. Now, I know it's a lot of information, so now it's time for me to stop talking and open it up for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and hopefully I'll be able to answer as many questions as possible.